The Flames blew their regulation lead, and an ugly Jonathan Huberdeau turnover cost them the game 28 seconds into overtime. There was no quit through 60 some odd minutes of play, and we're going to talk about the highs and lows and some delusion from some Flames discourse here on today's episode of Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. My hair is an absolute mess today. If you are watching on YouTube, my name's Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for tuning in. Milan Lucic scored, which means everything is swell in Darryl Sutter's world. We did get to see a Mangiapane and a Michael Backlund goal, which makes our reality even sweeter. Today, we're going to run down the good, the bad, the ugly, and some delusion, because we do love a little bit of discourse here on Locked On Flames. But make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we are available on YouTube as well. The goals started coming and they didn't stop coming. I was thoroughly impressed when, the Flames did go down 1-0 to start early. And I was like, okay, it's okay. They'll be fine. They do love a good chase. But then Luch scored and Backlund scored. I took a shower after the first goal. I was like, I'm going to go wash my hair. I just, shake something up. And wonderful things happened, because as soon as I started watching, they started allowing goals again. But we did get to see a wonderful Andrew Mangiapane goal as well, and I thought that was great. And the Backlund goal, I do want to talk about for a second, because I believe it was the power play. I could be wrong, but Huberdeau and Backlund were down low in front of the net, and Backlund was able to tip the puck in off of a redirect, and I thought that was great. And that shows what happens when you have players down low and how effective they can be. But who wasn't too effective last night was Jacob Markstrom. Do I think it could have been the combination of things? Yes, absolutely. Of course, things happen, especially with Chris Tanev deflecting a puck into his own net. But I do think that Markstrom played well. This is one that he absolutely could have saved. He could have won the Flames this game. Would have, could have, should have. It's one of those things. But I really think that the Flames got lucky here when the refs called back that goal due to offside. Darryl said, listen, there are some offside calls where I'm like, how do you see that? How do you see that on the ice? And it's happening so far away from the bench too. So I'm sitting there with my binoculars, right? And I still can't see it. But that was a very blatant offside call. And that's fine, because you know what? I have this saying. I hate the offside penalty or rule unless it benefits my team. And last night it did. So we'll take it. We will take it until one of the Flames goals get overturned because of it. I thought that they played a physical game. I'm not just talking about, fighting. There wasn't any scrapping going on, but I think Thursday's game could be a little chippy. And of course, the big hits, they were throwing some big hits, and they weren't afraid to throw their hips into things if they needed to. And I think that's one of the things that the Flames have been missing. And I'm not just saying throw all the big hits you want and just get away with it. They were kind of meaningful hits, and ones that kind of can change the momentum of the game. And listen, there was this girl, I'm going to tell a story, because this is one of the things that I think, granted these are NHL players and not rec league 11, 12-year-old girls playing basketball, but they're not going out there and just throwing their body at anyone, throwing some elbows back and forth. Like, there was this one game that I played. I must have been in 7th grade, and this girl, she was covering me, and she would just keep throwing her elbows into me, like, to like box me out or whatever. And I have no athletic ability, especially in soccer. And it was very frustrating. I didn't take any penalties though. But if the Flames can kind of do that and get their opponents to take penalties, that might be good, you know? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Actually, maybe stay at 5-on-5 because your power play is horrendous. But again, I think their biggest strength was them not taking their foot off the gas. Yes, the Blues scored, and then you had a 1-goal lead, and then they scored immediately again, and then the game was tied. And it was just so frustrating, but they were able to keep it alive and go to extra hockey. Again, they did get lucky with the offside call, and they kept going. They did keep going. And that is the biggest thing with this team, is not imploding. You have all of the key pieces you need to succeed, and now it's up to you to hold it together when there's pressure and just keep going. That's all I can keep saying, is just keep going. Because if you take your foot off the gas, that's not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to sit there. You're going to stop moving. But if you keep going and at least attempt to shoot the puck, to pass the puck, to generate some scoring chances, you might get a little lucky, okay? And coming up next, we are going to talk about Eric Francis and just the response to one of his tweets today, because I thought it was absolutely hysterical and something that I think a lot of us can kind of put 2 and 2 together with here. But before we do that, I do want to take a second to talk about BetOnline. BetOnline has all you need for your latest odds, news, trends, and scores when it comes to online sports betting. Get in on the latest action when it comes to NFL betting, which the playoffs start this weekend, so don't bet on the Cowboys. Bet a much safer bet with a more successful team like the Bills. And of course, you're going to want to head on over to BetOnline on your mobile device or your website, your computer, to learn all about the latest trends in action over at BetOnline, where the game begins. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Locked On Flames. And as always, I'm Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I'm so happy to talk with you guys today. And listen, I saw this tweet. I am one of the few people in the Flames world where I'm not blocked by Eric Francis, okay? I don't know how else to put it, okay? But I'm not blocked by him, probably because I just keep my mouth shut for the most part and just ride it out. But this morning he tweeted, just kidding, this afternoon, it was morning in Calgary, but he says, Flames are given the day off today, so the hand-wringing continues over Jakob Pelletier's status. Question for those dying to see him make his NHL debut. Who in the top 6 do you propose he replaces? Keep in mind, scored in 2 of the last 3 and has points in 3 straight. Every response to this is Lucic. Okay, except one. There's Dubé. Dubé. I don't know why someone said, I could not care less that Lucic has gotten points in 3 straight. He's playing with 2 of the Flames' top players, therefore, and before that, he had no goals in 60-some-odd games. Yes, that is correct. And Milan Lucic in the top 6 is not a long-term and a sustainable thing. It's not something that you can do. And if you have someone within your organization that you can promote, why not do that and save yourself a draft pick, some cap space, or a roster player, or a prospect? Because you're going to have to trade for someone in the top 6. So why not just try it out? I don't understand. I mean, I do understand, because it's the stubbornness, and you're seeing Lucic succeed, quote unquote, succeed with the people he's playing around. But at the same time, he is not showing any sort of defensive capabilities. He completely gave up on the third goal last night. Like, I went back to watch some clips, and he just completely fell apart, and he stopped chasing the puck. He didn't like stick, poke a little bit. He didn't do any of that. There was no defense there. And I think one of my biggest gripes is we watched this man go from, 11, like 7 to 11 minutes of cardio, if that a night, to now he's playing 13 to 15 minutes, depending, even like 17 minutes if he's plugged in on special teams. So it's really a matter of, again, you can move Lucic down and scratch Lewis since he's not playing great. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to try him there, especially because he is one of your most promising prospects. And if you want to win, and you want to win now, make a change. That's what makes the most sense to me. Because, and I saw someone tweet today, they're like, oh, like, people are so negative. Hockey is just hockey. It should be entertainment. And I'm so glad I'm not that emotional. And if these people really thought that they were so smart, then why aren't they working in the NHL? And it's like, do you realize that's not how it works? But I really am so blown away that a senior columnist / analyst with Sportsnet, formerly Hockey Night in Canada, Jack FM, and Post Media, an author, a dad, a husband, and a kid sport ambassador, asks this question. Asks it the way it is asked. Keep in mind, Lucic has scored in 2 of 3. They also have lost the last 2 to not good teams in overtime. The game against Chicago should have been a straight up 2-point regulation win without any questions asked. Going into St. Louis should have been a 2-point win. You should have been able to steamroll Jordan Binnington, and you didn't. Things just did not work defensively, and goaltending as well, it did not work. So now Jordan Binnington gets to go put a little feather in his cap and say, I allowed 3 goals. They allowed 4. Like, the Flames are not doing themselves any favors by continuing to lose in streaks. I don't care. I do not care how you look at this. If you sat down with any other hockey fan with knowledge, of course, from any other fan base, they would say you take out Lucic and you slot in Pelletier or Phillips. And based on how Eric Francis was talking last night on the broadcast, or Tuesday night, he knows that Pelletier is not going to be playing. He knows. It's a very similar situation to Matthew Phillips. And that is what it is. And we've talked about it a million times. There is no changing Darryl Sutter's mind. Brad Treliving is going to have to step in, because Brad Treliving has made it clear that he wants these young kids to play. And it's time for him to start playing. This isn't a joke anymore. But, I can only say so much without being perceived as super negative. So I'm going to wrap up today's show with some expectations for tonight's game. Sorry, I'm recording this on Wednesday night. As the Flames face the Blues for the second time in 3 days. And thank you everyone for hanging out with me here at Locked On Flames. I appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you get our show. I don't think it's reasonable, or not reasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect Vladar to start tonight. I don't. I would say based on the performance in Chicago and against St. Louis, Markstrom probably not so great. Although I will say for his performance against St. Louis, it wasn't like it was 3 goals on 11 shots. It was 3 goals on 16 shots for the Flames. They made Binnington look silly there, but I do think that the performance against in the first game, it did kind of go against him and not work well in his favor if, Darryl Sutter wanted to start him tomorrow or tonight rather. And you look at the rest of the week and you don't have a back-to-back. You have Saturday in Dallas and Monday you're in Nashville. So I think tonight would be a good opportunity to start Vladar. I want to see not Binnington. Sorry, I want to see Markstrom go out against Jake Ottinger on Saturday and have the wackiest confidence. I want to see him happy and just like the way that he was playing out of his mind during the playoffs. I want to see that. But something else that I do expect out of this team tonight is offense. I expect you to be producing the same way you were producing Tuesday night, because it's not much of a change. Even if St. Louis changes their goaltending situation, you still have the opportunity here. And the forwards and defensive pairings are the same as well. So at least at the time I'm recording, I don't see anything changing so significantly in 48 hours that the Flames have to come up with an entirely new game plan. Do they put Pelletier in after, if they lose this one tonight and go up against Dallas? Maybe. But I don't think it's going to be Lucic coming out of the lineup. I think that the expectation should be another, 5-4, 4-3 game. Both teams have great offense. Both teams, like for, Jordan Kyrou to only score 1, Buchnevich scored the first of the night. Rob Thomas scored. Like, these are all the players that I said to watch out for, even though the majority of their offense is injured. So clearly they either listen to the show or we know what we're talking about here. But I do really hope that things turn out better for the Flames. I hope that they are able to put up more points than their opponent. That's as simple as it is. All they need to do is get that Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman line going. If all the goals came from them, I will eat a stick of butter on this show. Only if they win. But then again, you have to look at your Huberdeau, Kadri, and Lucic line. You want to see more from them as well, because they're out there for 15 minutes a night. They need to be playing 15 solid minutes of hockey. And, obviously their shifts are not 15 minutes at a time, but each shift counts. Each shift determines the momentum for the next one. And sometimes it starts out really sloppy and you're getting a horrendous first period. And then you go get lectured in the locker room and you come out flying during the second. And sometimes that's what you need. But I want to see all gears through all 60. I want to see it turned up all the way. And I expect a win. You almost won on Tuesday, so you can definitely secure a win tonight. And that's all I have today. I think that my biggest takeaway here is that Lucic is the weak link that you take out of the top 6 here. Could be Dubé, but I don't think Dubé is the one you need to be moving. So it's Lucic. Thank you for posing that question. And I will be back tomorrow for winners and losers of the week. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Flames.